Well, it's been a hectic past month for us so far, but and with this being a bit long overdue because of the amount of videos we've had to get through, let's see what happened last month in UK Funfairs. So hello and welcome to the September 2023 installment of last month for UK Funfairs. With it being World Funfair Month, we did manage to get to quite a handful of fairs we managed to get to, and we were glad to have got to both Barnstaple Fair and Frome Carnival Fair this year, because for both of which it was actually 6 years ago since we last went there. Barnstaple last year we wanted to do, but well, I couldn't because of illness. And Frome Carnival Fair was actually my first time down there in 6 years. But the reason, because Frome's not that far of a drive from where we are based, but the reason why I haven't been able to make it to that fair is because of it clashing with other commitments. Anyway, so instead of doing news on events this time round, we've decided to do a couple of special segments, one for Bridgewater Fair and another for Nottingham Goose Fair. So starting off, let's take a look at what's been happening with Bridgewater.
Bridgewater Fair took place from the 27th to the 30th of September at St Matthew's Field of Bridgewater in Somerset. For this report, we will be giving a rundown of what is new for this year and what returns after an absence. First off, let's talk about the first 6-arm Tivoli remix to come here in 10 years. Stuart Dante's Extreme stood on the position of A.B. Dante's Wild Mouse Coaster, which was open at Nottingham Goose Fair. It's the first 6-arm machine to attend Bridgewater Fair since John Parish's one in 2013. Also new to Bridgewater was Henry Studd's KMG Freakout. The ride, which Henry part exchanged with James Manning back in January, stood on the position where Darren Matthews' Loop Fighter named No Limit situated since it opened for the very first time at Bridgewater straight from the Technical Park factory, until it was sold to the Mellors Group, who took it out to Kuwait. A similar ride called Vortex also made its Bridgewater debut. This ride, which is an outwards-facing gyro swing-style ride built by Czech company Confolding Group and is currently owned by William Robert Wilson, stood on the spot where William has opened his previously owned machines, including the Super Bowl and the King Street Fighter Revolution. New to Bridgewater Fair was A.B. Morris Crazy Frog, which he purchased from Perrin Stevens at the end of last year. The ride stood on the position A.B. had previously stood with his Power Shot reverse bungee, which he sold to Kenny Raywood. Jan de Koning's Big Wheel named Happy Wheel also made its Bridgewater debut. Built in October 2021 by AK Rides, brand new for de Koning, stood on a position which is typically occupied by a fun house. Harrison Rogers' Ghost Train, which was built by Teddy Mandeus in 1989, also appeared at Bridgewater for the first time. Now on to absent rides. Making its first appearance at Bridgewater after so many years was Stacey Squire's Crazy Cage, which previously appeared here with former owner Billy Dantea. The ride stood on what's called a floating position, which is typically occupied by roundup rides of this kind. Returning after 12 years was Keeley Wall's Superstar. The ride, which is typically travelled by John Jr., stood on Joey Noyce's position, who previously occupied it with his Star Flyer for numerous years in a row. Making a return after 8 years was Bridget Burton's Fabry Booster, which filled in for Wilson's Storm KMG Speed, which was at Nottingham. Another machine to return after 8 years was the 4-arm Extreme owned by James Dantea, which was previously owned by brother William during the last time it came here. A special mention we wanted to give was the Sofeco Crazy Frogs named Bounce, which previously opened here under ownership of the Cogger family, then John Jennings. This is the first year the ride has opened with its new owner Henry Studd. Another special mention we once give us to the Fairtrade Waltzer, as this fair was its last place open with owner James Cole. This comes as he will be taking delivery of a brand new 4-hill machine with an outer pay box later on in 2024. The Fairtrade Waltzer will go on to a new owner in the West Country, which will be mentioned on ride changes.
Now with Bridgewater done, let's take a look at what's had been happening with this year's Nottingham Goose Fair. Now we were debating it on whether to include it on the October 2023 edition, which would have been next month, but since Nottingham Goose Fair actually falls into September, with it being the last Saturday and the last weekendish of September, it kind of felt, you know what, may as well include it in the September 2023 installment. Anyway, no more dawdling on, let's take a look at what happened.
After being such a successful run last year, Nottingham Goose Fair returned for a 10-day run for 2023. And this year saw quite a handful of machines which are either new to Goose Fair or haven't been at this in a very, very long time. Starting off with new additions, it was a special occasion for this ride as it was its first place under the new ownership. The Fabry booster named Joker, the ride made its first outing with new owner Lee Harris, who purchased the ride from Gilbert de Porter in the Netherlands earlier in the month before pulling onto Goose Fair. Many will remember this ride for being situated on the end of Brighton Pier from when it was brand new in 2006 until 2022. The Phantom Chaser ghost train of Ryan Barwick made its first ever Goose Fair appearance. The last time we saw this particular ghost train was back in 2017 during Joe Whiteleg's ownership. A new coaster for 2023 was a family coaster with a Big Apple-style track layout built by Govan Luna Park for Spencer Hall. The coaster named El Islet Pirate made its debut in Weymouth of Dorset in the summer of this year. A Tivoli Force 10, otherwise known as Tip Top, made an appearance here for the first time in more than 20 years. The Tip Top of Michael McKean Jr. is the first of its kind to make an appearance since Theodore Wyatt's machine in 2000, which was exported to China in 2014. After having the position occupied by the Magic Mouse Reversion spinning coaster, Ryan Crow's second coaster of this kind, which was previously Fantasy Mouse at Fantasy Island, filled the position. This is the first year Ryan's second spinning coaster has attended this Goose Fair. Now on to returning rides. First up was the one-of-a-kind PWS Project X owned by Derek Hackett. The ride, which is the only one of its kind in the world, originally made its debut here at Nottingham 10 years ago back in 2013 and has made its first appearance here since then. The Air Max Mondial Capriolo of Darren Matthews returned after 8 years since its last appearance in 2015. The ride, which normally goes to Hull Fair, was on the position where the Rhythm Dancer Miami of Ray Wilson stood last year. Regarded as one of the most, if not the most intense riding experience, it was so good to see it back here. William Robert Wilson's Storm KMG Speed returned following it last appeared here in 2018. The past couple of years Goose Fair has happened, its position was occupied by Bridget Burton's Fabry Booster, which was at Bridgewater this year. The well-respected and past award-winning skid of Jimmy Bowie returned since 2019. After being absent the past 2 Goose Fairs, the acclaimed ride was giving the punters really long and fast cycles during its appearance this year. Another ride to return since 2019 was William Roberts' Megaspin, which is one of only 2 of its kind in the world. Both examples, along with Stargate, were at Goose Fair this year. The ride has attended in past years with previous owner Darren Matthews, who had the ride from 2001 to 2015, where it was sold to Ross Case, who had it before William bought in 2019. And last for this topic, a special mention for the Midnight Express Sabima Matterhorn. The ride, which has previously attended with past owner George Brewer Jr. and last year with Ashley Rogers, but this is the first year it has attended with new owner Jonathan Barker.
Now onto the new ride section. We're going to be excluding the Pirate Coaster of Spencer Hall, because since we've already talked about that, it just didn't feel right mentioning it again in the segment. So let's take a look at what other new rides have been coming to the UK.
Wilmot's attractions have shared a handful of teasers and sneak peek of the brand new Air Raid 2 Tivoli remix, which will hopefully be completed by next month's episode. The ride, which will be the sequel to Mitchell's Air Raid 4 Arm Extreme, which was originally brand new to Gary Evans in 2013 until 2015 and has spent the past couple of years as Spin Jam at Alton Towers, is expected to be completed very soon. We look forward to seeing it. The Rowland family have shown a teaser of their new ride, which is expected to be due in December. The photo shows the lighting panels for what looks to be a confolding group outwards facing extreme, which was originally going to be named Satanic, but we've had word from David Jr. that it could potentially be something else. All will be confirmed soon when the ride is complete. Michael Mulhern has taken delivery of a brand new Sizzler from PWS Rides. The ride, which has been given a unique colour scheme compared to the firm's recent Mark III machines.
And finally, 4 ride changes. Now, excluding the Joker booster, because we've already talked about that in the Nottingham segment, so we don't really need to go over that again. So, aside from Lee Harris purchasing the former Brighton Pier booster from Deporter in the Netherlands, who transformed it as Joker the Ride, let's take a look at some other ride changes that have happened.
Following our mention of this Waltzer in the Bridgewater segment, we said that the XLR8 Waltzer of James Cole was its last outing since James had this machine brand new from Fairtrade back in June 2013 and said it would be going to a new owner in the West County. Well, that new owner is George Debbie Jr. of Anderton and Rowland, who bought this machine in favour of his current ex-Dantea Maxwell machine. Billy Burnett Jr. has sold his Pollard flying coaster named Earthshaker to Chris Ibbs. The ride first opened with Chris on the village green of North Hykeham in Lincolnshire. William Bradley has sold his Superbob to David Rawlins. The ride, which the manufacturer of is currently unknown, made its debut with David at this year's Neath September Fair. If anyone has any information on the ride's manufacturer, it would be highly appreciated. Nicky Shaw has sold his Dodgems to Benioven. The attraction, which consists of a track from Czech company Janicek Rides and Oslo cars from Bertazan, first opened with Billy at Amersham Charter Fair. Another set of Dodgems that were sold were Wesley Marshalls, which were sold to James Evans. Consisting of a CBK Technic track and Bertazan New York cars, the new owner is currently looking for a first ground. After nearly 26 years of ownership, Joey Stokes Jr. has sold his Tivoli Orbiter to Reese Brett. The ride first opened with the new owner at a ground of Hawley, which is in the borough of Surrey's Reigate and Banstead. And with all that, back to the studio.
So that's it for the October 2023 instalment of Last Month UK Funfairs. Now, this is, we're actually going to be going on a slight hiatus with fairs for the rest of the month, probably until mid-November. But we've decided to make a statement on why that is in a video that will be going out in a couple of hours' time. So, until then, see you later.